Next, I'd like to have all of our veterans to stay standing. Wives here too. They do a job. And our elected officials. Thank you guys for everything. We appreciate it. So tonight, stay with me. I've had to read my agenda about 3 times here. So tonight, as our first speaker, we are going to have Mayor Jarratt and Chris Kaufman to come up and present our update on the project for 377.
I'm going to lead the Pledge of Allegiance right here. Chris will lead over here to the Texas flag. Beautiful song. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would, under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Thank you too. Chris, you already know, but I do want to introduce our communications director over here, Mr. Jeff Newford. And he is right where he wants to be. Behind the scenes. Come on, Jess, step out front. No, I'm back here. What we do is offer each of you. Chris and I are going to give a brief update on the status of 377. And I can finish next week. No. I wanted to have Chris here because when you have questions, you'll be able to get an answer. But I also wanted to have Chris here to just give an idea of what it takes to get these major roads done, particularly in the environment that we're in, where Texas has right at $60 billion worth of projects that have been laid, that people are working right now. Part of the problem doesn't appear to be money. It appears to be just as much people and equipment to get the job done. So it's we need to make sure. I'm saying all this so that we make sure that we get your help talking to all of our legislatures, whether they be congressmen, whether they be senators, ladies, whoever that legislature is, to understand that 377 needs to stay absolutely 100% on the top of the list of things to get done in the next 5, 6, 3 years, whatever it takes. Let me show, Jeff, if you show that first slide. If you look at Texas up here, that's 377, where you see the red, the green, the orange. And the red is either a exceptionally deadly part of the road, it has exceptional traffic, it's a problem. And if you look at what is the northern section of Texas, that's us. And that's a big problem. But if you look at that entire 377 corridor, it too is a big problem. And I point that out because TxDOT is now working with the process of looking at the entire corridor, looking all of the districts, looking one after the other so that they don't build roads 6 inches apart, or even worse, but so that they maximize the effort, or maximize the people, maximize the equipment and dollars that they can, up and down. One of the challenges that we've had is making sure that we, North Texas, get our share of the money that is allocated, our share of the resources that are allocated. Chris has been in Tex 21, which is a coalition of counties, cities, businesses, universities. It's a huge coalition. Chris has been coaching of that for 10 years, at least 10 years. And as a result of that, he's been able to keep our city, our work, on the top of the list. And this year, I apparently upset him because he said they want you to be the TxDOT, want you to be the chair of the Northern Corridor. Well, I didn't know not to say yes, so I did. And we have been able to keep our city, our 377, on that list. And that list is a very expensive list. You have that next slide. This is just the funding for the northern part. That's from Dublin, Texas to Oklahoma. And yeah, it goes through the DFW area. But when you add those numbers up, it's a little over $5 billion. $5 billion. The entire 377 corridor project is right at $7 billion. South Texas has $1 billion, the central part of Texas doesn't have about $500 million, and we have over $5 billion. And it's $5 billion that all of it hasn't been left, and it's not all to us at this point in time, but we have the projects identified. And let me give you just a close look at what's happening on the 377 Crescent to the Stephenville. Yeah, that slide. Now this is busy, really busy. But you can go on our site. I think we have this one online somewhere. You go on to redberry.org you can pull this up and you can get identified those very specific tasks that are happening up and down 377 either right now. In fact, we have some auxiliary work being done this weekend. Pearl Street is going to be closed Friday and Saturday nights. So 7 nights, 7 in the morning while they smooth it out. Infrastructure. Chris and Rick have been moving that for what? They've been on that for well over a year. So the work is, I thought you told me, the work is progressing, but not so much that you see it, because when you will see it, it will be massive. The entire $5 billion won't be in this area, but a lot of it is going to be. Now, I put a sheet of paper on your desk out here, and it has all of the representatives and senators and congressmen and women that are in and around 377 in the North Quarter. Call them. That's the only way. I don't think I have one. You have to be at the table. Chris has been at the table for 10 years. He's at the table for the next 3. And I didn't mention, but Rene Samuelson is on the North Texas Council of Governments Regional Transportation Authority. And she is there. And when they have a meeting, she is there. Kevin has been very, very active, and I'm not saying David and Jack and the judge have not been active. They all have been very active, particularly on the ancillary roads that are going around town, while 377 is torn up, missing, whatever. We have to have routing around town for safety reasons and for emergencies. So that initiative is working. What did they call the big county plan? Yeah, Master Thoroughfare Plan for the county was completed last month, and it's coming. It's moving. This is a broad overview. It's the only time that Sharon would give me. Get very deep into it, but let me let Chris answer all the questions.
And before you ask a question, let me just tell you that the TxDOT broke the state up into 3 zones for 377. That didn't happen overnight. About 3 years ago, we hosted a Tex 21 meeting here in Granbury, and the chief planning officer for TxDOT called every district engineer on 377, there's 7 of them, and made them come to Granbury and give a presentation on what they're doing on 377 in their district. And what I learned through that was how uncoordinated, how lack of planning has taken over. You know, each district has their own little turf. I don't want to call it anything but that. That's their turf, and they're in charge of it. They're going to do what they want to do, those district engineers. And they're not talking to the neighboring district engineer. But TxDOT is now making them do that. And the mayor was very involved in that, and that's why they asked him to be the chairman of that North Texas Coalition to do the study. So we've come a long way in the last 3 years on this. They're supposed to award a contract to do the breakout project for 377, which is from Pirate Drive to Overstreet Way. And if you don't know where that is, Pirate Drive takes you to the high school, and Overstreet Way takes you to Home Depot. It's the traffic light. They're going to widen the bridge. They're going to redo the bridge over the 144 bridge over 377. They're going to redo the Biloxi Highway Bridge. You're going to be able to go from the Biloxi Highway to Highway 377. It's a $130 million project. And they've got $100 million earmarked for it now. And they've assured me they're going to get the other $30 million between now and fall of next year. So the city is currently making plans and engineering and getting things lined up to move our utilities out of the state's way so they can build the road. That's about a $15 million price tag. So maybe 18 by the time we get the electric lines moved as well. But that's what it costs to widen that part of the highway. The rest of the highway, if they gave us $1 billion today, we wouldn't want to do that whole strip of road at one time. Do y'all have any questions that maybe we can answer? I'll start right here with Mary. It'll be a divided 6-lane highway with a 10-foot walking trail on both sides, bicycle and walking trail on both sides. So, yes, new bridge. Yeah. Right. They'll do one bridge at a time. And the one on the north side may remain, it's newer, and they may have to be able to widen it, but the other one has to go. Yes, sir.
So you mentioned that the bridge over the water, right, and the 144 bridge over 377, and the Flexi Highway Bridge. What about that bridge work down where Pearl Street merges back in?
That'd be the next phase, and they've got it laid out what's going to happen there, and that's all going to be changed. In fact, where Plaza Drive is will be a frontage road for the new system as it goes through there. There's going to be center channelization. It's a divided road, so people will not be able to jump 3 lanes of traffic into a turn lane, into the opposite direction lane. There'll be hooded turns where they can do a U-turn at the traffic lights. That's the way it's laid out now. Who knows what it'll do when they get finished? That's kind of where we're at. Yes, ma'am.
What's the difference in those two projects?
So the master thoroughfare plan is a plan, and it's not a project. It's just a plan. And what that does, it allows the county. We have a master thoroughfare plan too, but this is what we're talking about. That we got approved last month was the county approved there, and it takes in Old Granbury Road. It takes in possibly a new extension of 567 to go out south and over back to 144. All these plans. So as land develops and developers come to town, whether it's off Old Granbury Road or Loop 567 or 144, those lines are drawn for a reason, and they have to put those roads in as they develop at the cost of the developer instead of the cost of the taxpayer supporting the developer. So that's an important key to that. Also, with that master thoroughfare plan, we've got a consultant here at the city, and we're sharing in with the county as much as they'll listen. But they can take that master thoroughfare plan and send it to the council of government, include that in the regional transportation plan that Ms. Shangelson served on, Commissioner Shangelson, and then they can qualify. If it's helping ancillary traffic off of the Highway 377, we can qualify for federal funding. So that's the importance of the master thoroughfare plan. And so we're excited to see the county, as they're not going to lines up with ours as well. And so, kind of like singing from the same songbook now. Yes, ma'am.
Quick question. Not sure if you had mentioned this.
Let me get your microphone.
If you could just clarify, so the city thoroughfare plan, as a city that's kind of different, but will they utilize the city plan then? You're saying that's a potential that you will utilize the city thoroughfare plan?
They're the same on where they match with the county perfectly. It's all congruent. Same consultant did both of them. And so, like Old Granbury Road, part of that is city and part of it is county. We're all in agreement with what's happening.
No, I'm saying some of it on the master plan or thoroughfare, just the city, some of the proposed roads, would those be put in place to help offset the traffic for what came up with 367?
All it takes is money. We'll try to find it.
When does it start?
When we find the money. We've got a street study just wrapping up right now for every street in town. I don't know if you live in the city proper, but our streets are needing a lot of help. And so we're going to look at probably issuing bonds to address a lot of maintenance, and then hopefully some of these extra little nuggets of road that need to be extended to get to another road where it doesn't dead end and then go around it. Let's face it, when they develop things without a plan, it doesn't all tie together.
Thank you.
She'll give me one more question. Who's it? Yes, ma'am. Let's give her the microphone. Thank you.
I attended all these meetings and traffic on 377 was getting a lot worse. And then a week or two ago, they announced that there's a brand new complex unbelievable with one of those shops and things. Are these plans not going to incorporate? Because that's going to make traffic don't.
So that project has been on the books since about 2018, and all that has gone into this plan with the TechStop. So yeah, we need to get this road built. But you know what? The busiest spot is down here by the Rene Chevrolet. That is 50,000 cars a day. And by highway standards, it needs to be a 6-lane highway now, not a 4-lane highway. So we're playing catch up. And the growth is, even with the sort of moratorium where people can't come in and plat new property, we've got people platting old property, take care of developing old property, or where they were vested, where they could, or grandfathered in before the moratorium legally they need to develop. With those moving forward, we're still seeing 3 to 5% growth every year, which is astronomical growth for a small city. We're playing catch up, and as it grows, you know, we've got a $250 million capital improvement plan for the next 10 years just to keep up with the water and sewer that we're going to experience with growth. So this town is not slowing down, and you legally can't make somebody not develop their property. They've got the legal right to develop their property, and we have to respect that. What we try to do is do it in an orderly and planned fashion where the roads tie together and the infrastructure is congruent, and most of all, public safety. Anything else? I guess that's my last question. Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, so while we're having to change out of systems real quick, and I'll talk to you a little bit about something. I saw a quote that I thought was quite appropriate for our group. It says, Republicans believe every day is the 4th of July. Democrats believe every day April 15th. So next month, our speaker comes to us from Manzana County, where she's championed against the best facilities. If you don't know what those are, we've kind of talked about that a couple times. Those are those battery energy storage systems that they're trying to put all over Texas. I didn't realize how many were already in Texas until I talked to Nancy. And you'd be surprised. Some counties already have over 10, 12 facilities of solar, BESS, different things. We're looking at possibly 3 here right now, but that can grow quickly. So Nancy White's going to come to us next month and give us an idea of maybe what we can do to maybe stop some of that. So we should come back next month. So next we're going to have, Jaci Lopez. She's our woman, the GOP resolutions committee. I believe that's what her title is. She's going to give us a brief oversight of, I was going to say that the executive committee at their last meeting voted in 4 resolutions. And Jaci's just going to kind of give us an overview of what they were.
Good evening, everybody. I'm sure most of you remember me. I'm Jaci Lopez. I am the chairwoman of the Rules, Bylaws, and Resolutions Committee for the Executive Committee, and I'm also your precinct chair for 408. We've been really busy working on resolutions this year. We are really trying to put them out there and make ourselves known to the legislators in Austin. So April 7th, we passed 4 resolutions. I'm going to share these with you tonight. Thank you, Sharon, for letting me share these with you guys. If anyone here, if you don't know who your precinct chair is, I'm going to encourage you to visit HCRPTexas.com, click on the About Us, and there's a map you can look at and kind of see what precinct you're in. And then if you keep scrolling down that page, you also will see who your precinct chair is. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm pretty sure everyone in here knows who their precinct chair is. Okay, so the first resolution we passed was resolution, they all start with 2025, since that's the year, -003. This advocates for shifting local elections to be partisan elections, including school board and city council meetings.
Yeah!
Our argument is that if you don't know who your party you're voting for and their party affiliation,
You don't know their principles in which they're going to be voting and making decisions on that are hugely important for decisions in the school as well as in your city. So if you don't, and there's no way to hold them accountable if they're not doing what you want them to do, because they say they're Republican, but are they? Who knows? I don't know, but they sure don't vote like it sometimes. So that being said, I'm actually going to talk really quick about not a resolution, but something that came up in the school board meeting last night, and that it seems that we have trustees that want to change the duration of their term from 3 years to 4 years, and they want to intentionally make it on off-year elections on the odd number of years where there's historically a low voter turnout. So we're talking about they want to have the school board trustees elected by a very small percentage that actually show up, and that's not an accurate representation of what the community wants. I look at it as voter suppression, so I personally have a big problem with that. So please pay attention to the school board meetings. Pay attention to the board vote when it comes out, when the agenda comes out, to know what they're wanting to do. So moving on to the resolutions really quick. Sharon's looking at me. We got Resolution 2025-004. This one supports renewing Texas's application for an Article 5 Convention of the States as proposed by SJR 54 and HJR 98 in the last legislative session to address federal overreach, national debt, and the need for term limits. All this does is just renews the application for the Convention of the States. I am normally not super for Convention of the States. I personally like the 10th Amendment. I like state sovereignty. However, this is a valid reason. These are all things that we need to address. So we passed this. I'm very proud of this resolution. The third resolution, 2025-005, addresses the development and operation of battery energy storage systems here in the county. Whether standalone, integrated with solar, cryptocurrency, mining, or AI data centers, we address the significant health, safety, and economic concerns. We highlight the risks of lithium-ion batteries, including thermal runaway, firefighting challenges, reignition risks, and environmental pollution. These are all big concerns for these BESS systems. So we passed that resolution. Very excited about that also. So there's one more, and this is something that's very, very important to us in Hood County as it reflects on the 287G program that President Trump signed. So we wanted to urge our Sheriff's Department and our county commissioners to support enrolling in the 287G program. That one passed. I'm really proud of that one. As of this afternoon, I went on the ICE website, ice.gov. I downloaded and printed both the pending applications and the current approved applications. Hood County is not on them yet. Parker County is, Tarrant County is, Burleson is, and pending. But this is not showing Hood County. I don't know what that means. Maybe they just haven't, maybe they did it since they updated it on April 14th. That was the last update. That was just last week. But I would really like to encourage you all to politely and kindly urge Sheriff Deeds that we really want to participate in this. There's a mandate that was given on this last election that we do not want illegal immigrants to continue to flood over in here and overrun our country. So let's urge him to do that. If you would like to see it, I brought the proof. I brought the receipts. Thank you again so much, Sharon. Sorry if I ran through this and stuff with them, but she said I had like 1 to 3 minutes. So.
Everybody buns me for their time, which is true. Okay, so I'm going to say a little bit more about the 287. I didn't have this on my agenda, but I did send it out in a newsletter, in my last newsletter. If you remember, we get a newsletter, and I talked about that, and talked about our sheriff being hesitant in signing up for the 287G to work with ICE. I received a response back from the sheriff. He must read my newsletter. And so he said that he had made a phone call and that he had sent in some paperwork to be approved. Well, what I found out since then, it just takes going online, putting your application, and so as Jackie was saying, the latest deal, Hood County is still not on that. So I think the sheriff said he was going to put an article in the newspaper. I don't know how many of us take the newspaper, but he said would. But I think we still need to be urging. We need to be letting him know that we want him to be part of that, to make sure. And what we're really asking for is just that if they're in jail, we already have them in jail. We want them identified and tell ICE, put a hold on them so ICE can come and pick them up. And that's what we're asking our sheriff to do. We're really not asking him to go out in the county and serve warrants and pick up people and that kind of thing. Just hold the people that are already in jail. Okay, so. Next I have our Senate person, Tim Bolton.
All right, she's got me on the clock. I'm sorry I'm talking so fast, but it's going to go. So I feel like this every time. I was going to bring you guys an update. So last month we didn't do this, and I'm sorry for that. But so I didn't cover flock cameras last month, but the commissioners voted to approve flock cameras, so they're coming. And you guys know how we feel about that. I won't let's harp on that for too long. I was going to say something about 287G. Both of these ladies took my thunder on that. That's fine. I'll talk about the jail expansion. So that was out there and that was under discussion. That thing's gone from $120 million bond down to a $50 million bond down to $20 million. So that is probably more in range of some of these probably do. So that's good. That's good. We're accountable and we look for better alternatives and they come up with them. So that is something that we can probably get behind. So I was also going to mention in Commissioner's Court. So I've got somewhere up there. Hold on, I'll show you. Not that one. That one. So I'm sorry that's so small, but back there on the table with Judy is a stack of papers that have all these phone numbers on them. This is related to is related to BESS and solar and those alternative energy solutions that are being proposed down in Precinct 2. So the update on that is that SB 1754 that was drafted by our own Brian Birdwell, so thank you, Brian Birdwell. That is, the proposal there is for no tax abatements on renewable energy sources. And so that, I don't think it'll kill those programs, but it certainly will make it as lucrative for them, and so maybe that'll push them to have second thoughts on it. So that is passed all the way through the Senate. It's now in the House. So in the House now, it's already in committee. It's in the Ways and Means Committee, and so these are all the folks who are on the Ways and Means Committee, and their numbers are back there as well as on your screen here. So that is that for Commissioner's Court School Board. So I got a little, that thunder was moved up already to tell you about 4-year terms is what's being proposed. I'm not entirely opposed to that. Republicans that we are, we like to hold government accountable, and so I like being able to put them on 3-year terms and vote them out if they're not doing what we suggest. So I like that. Even myself, right now, I'm on there, hold me accountable. I mean it. Call me. We talk. So anyway, 4-year terms. So I'm not opposed to that. I don't like the idea of doing it on all-year elections, like Jackie mentioned. But there's just they're looking for a little voter turnout. The danger in there is that special interests. I'll just leave it at special interests. Have too much influence in those elections where fewer people show up, and when you have a higher voter turnout. I'm sorry, I'm talking so fast. Higher voter turnout, then you get a better cross section of what the community is, and you get more voices in there, and that's always better. So we want more people at the polls, more people who are already going to be drawn to the polls for midterms or for the big one with the president and all of those elections, all the way down to have those during those elections. So there is a little bit of cost savings in doing it the other way because you have fewer poll stations open and it costs the school district a little less to administer those elections, but it's fractional. The difference is very slight. So that definitely does not outweigh the value of that. So this is my other thing for the school board and the conversations going on there. So this is the ambassadors program. This is not it's my QR code, but it links to the school district's site on the ambassador program. So you guys get involved with that and get in that room. I think the first meeting might be as early as next week, certainly by the following week. I think it is next week. I'm sorry, I don't have the date in front of me, but it's at the other end of that QR code. So if you guys want to hit that, then that'll get you to it. Get conservative voices in that room, please, so that they get an understanding of where we stand on all those things. So that's that. That's your call to action on that. Vouchers. So vouchers, have passed by another name. So that's how brilliant today. We had what do we call that? Leadership luncheon that we had today, hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. And one of the comments there, one of the questions back to Morosky was the featured speaker there today. And one of the things that was asked of her is, what are we going to do with vouchers? And she said, listen, we're going to make our schools the best schools that they can do. We're really, really into it. Was, there's no fear in it. We're not worried about it. And I'll tell you guys, just when you do the math, the max, I think, that we would be affected by, maybe 10 students. So you're talking about 10 out of 8,000 students, we want to use. So they're fear-mongering that it's going to break our schools and break public schools and all the rest of that, I think is just not worthy of mentioning. So that is that one. I do have another one. I don't remember the other one was. Oh, Sentinel. So I'm doing this alone. Or not quite alone, but I go ahead and listen to that. I'm in the program right now. I mean, my mode, my state is that I'm kind of just enough just in time. I have 5 jobs, y'all, so I put my notes together today on my way here. So, could be you can tell. But anyway, help me out. So sign up for that. I know some of you already have. I appreciate that. It's just that I'm behind. I'm trying to process that and get you more involved. I need you more involved because otherwise it falls on me. Thank you.
So let's get Tim a captain or somebody can help him organize this while he's That's right. Okay, there's another announcement I want to make. It's going to be tonight. There's the 2025 Bible Reading Marathon that we have every year at the Square. Okay, this is on April the 25th through the 30th, 7 a.m. to 8:45. Last reading. They're done in 15-minute increments. If you would like.
Mike is dead.
Microphone's going back and forth with me. If you're interested, go to greenburyministries.org. And I'm going to tell you that a lot of times we talk about a lot of stuff here and it kind of goes by fast. All of these are put on our Facebook page, the Hood County Republican Conservative Facebook page. So you can go back and look at this over again if there's something really interesting you might have missed. That. Did somebody walk off with my script? Okay, so my next speaker is Scott London. Did you put my script, my pages?
Maybe. It wasn't me. So, I've been coming up here talking about the last 3.5 years now of the Texas Constitution, and I've compiled all of that and put it all together into an 8-hour class with some additional information. So we're ready for an 8-hour class right now. So I love this quote. I'm sure we've heard it before, that if men were angels, no government would be necessary. And if angels were to govern men, neither external or internal controls on government would be necessary. Let's face it, we do not have angels running our government. Is that correct? Right? This is why we have a Constitution. The Constitution is the rule book for our government. And then, why am I up here teaching? Well, seeing the audience, I popped up and he said, no people will tamely surrender their liberties, nor can be easily subdued when knowledge is diffused and virtue is preserved. On the contrary, when people are universally ignorant and debauched in their manners, they will sink under their own weight without the aid of foreign invaders. Does it feel like we've been there? For generations now, we have been, as a society, ignorant and debauched in our manners. I mean, this has not been a sudden turn.
There's been a gradual shift over generations that has gotten us to this point where now we're trying to do a correction. And it's a painful correction. That's where we are right now. We're trying to correct this course that we've been on for probably about 150 years. Okay? So this is a pretty major shift. This is why I like to get up there and talk. So I want us to be educated on what our government is about. I want to repeat that. No, I'm not. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Hang on.
Well,
Keep trying. Hang on.
keep trying.
Try again.
It worked. Yeah. There we go. All right. Now we're okay. So here's. I'm going to thank Van Vernon. I didn't see him tonight. Van Vernon is one that kind of reminded me that this is important. Grammar is important. So now what you're looking at is just what looks like just gibberish, right? Got two that's, two is's, two that's, two is nots, and then two is's with two it's in the middle, right? There is a way to punctuate this, and when I teach a class like this, I actually use this as a way to make sense with punctuation. Punctuation is very important because it can change the meaning of the words. So let's put some punctuation in there. That is, period. That is not, comma, is not, period. Is it? Question mark. It is, period. Or you can even make that an exclamation mark. Now, why am I doing this? Well, let me give you one more example, and I think this one might hit a little closer to home. I kind of think this was fun. Let's eat, Grandma. Oh, wait, that's not what I said. Let's try this again. Let's eat, Grandma. That comma makes a major difference. We're not trying to cut Grandma up. We're trying to eat with Grandma, right? The comma makes a very big difference in the phrasing. And I'm going over all this to remind us of a phrase that a statement we've all made before. We said this just earlier this evening, right? Pledge of Allegiance. Now I want to highlight that third from the last phrase there. One nation under God. When you think cadence that we say our Pledge of Allegiance, how do we say it? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. One nation under God. Wait, there's no comma there. It's one nation under God. That's a single phrase. There's no comma there. So just want to highlight that. And now we're going to press on through the Texas Constitution. Let's get to a question that I think we know the answer to. So on what date did we declare our independence from Great Britain? And I'll give you a hint, you know, those fireworks, hot dogs. Date and year. When was it? I'm not asking you. All right, we celebrate every year on the 4th of July of 1776, our independence, right? Matter of fact, John Adams wrote a letter to his wife on July 3rd, 1776, where he said, July of 1776 will be the most memorable epitaph in the history of America. I am apt to believe that it will be celebrated by succeeding generations as a great anniversary festival. It ought to be commemorated as the day of deliverance by that solemn act of devotion to God Almighty. It ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade, with shows and games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of this continent to the other from this time forward forevermore. Boy, and don't we celebrate the 4th of July. He wrote that the day before the 4th of July. Oh, and he actually said it was the second day of July. What happened on the 2nd of July? I'm asking you, I know you know the answer. On the 2nd of July, 2 days before the Declaration of Independence was signed, we signed what's called the Lee Resolution. 3 short sentences in the Lee Resolution, and they made a very bold statement. They said, we are and ought to be free and independent states. On the 2nd of July, we declared our independence. 2 days later, we told the world why. And if there's a lesson here, it's the importance of why. Why is very important to human nature. We want to know why. We remember the why much more than we remember the what. But the what actually happened 2 days before what we celebrate. So John Adams was a little off on when that celebration occurred because he forgot the human nature of why. Come on, pitch up. All right, so we got that. So now people and I love this quote, the people, because people have accused me of being anti-government. You've seen it, clip, right? Oh, there's the part of that anti-government group. I'm not anti-government. And I think this explains why I can justify me being not anti-government. Because in a speech that Abraham Lincoln gave, he said, the people of these United States are the rightful masters of both Congress and courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert that Constitution. That's what I'm against. I'm against the guys that are up there saying that we've taken an oath to this Constitution but have absolutely no clue what it says and don't care. That's what bothers me. When you got people that take an oath to the Constitution, but I'm going to do what's right for me. What's going to line my pockets? What's going to put my name on the side of the building? What's going to make me famous? Wrong motivation. So what is an oath? An oath is very simply a pledge, a promise, a vow, a covenant. It's a commitment that we're making. And every one of us that have raised our hand have made such a commitment. What's the kitchen to? As a matter of fact, that young man was me 30 years ago. When I took my first oath to the United States Constitution, when I enlisted in the Air Force. And since that time, of course, I've taken that oath a number more times, when I joined the National Guard, worked in prisons and different police agencies that I worked for, when I got elected as sheriff in New Mexico, and even that last one there on the bottom, when Chad Jordan swore me in as chief deputy constable. But there's a running theme in all those oaths. But now, before we get to that, what does Scripture tell us about an oath? Because I think this is really important for us God-fearing people. I think it's good to look at the Scripture. Be able to take it from where? So in Numbers 20, verse 2, it says, if a man makes a vow to the Lord, or swears an oath to bind himself by some agreement, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to that proceeds out of his mouth. What's God telling us? Hold true to your commitment. It's not a difficult concept to understand. But how many in Washington have no clue that they're supposed to hold true to that commitment? Or also, or even sometimes both of them, right? So why do we take an oath to the Constitution? One, we're required to. The Constitution requires we take an oath to support the Constitution. We see this in Article 6, paragraph 3, where it talks about the senators, the executors, and the judicial officers all must take an oath to support this Constitution. As a matter of fact, that might look familiar to some of y'all. Our veterans that stood up earlier, y'all remember that, right? The first one's for the illustrates, the second is for your commissioned and warrant officers. Matter of fact, that second one is very similar to what we see to most federal officers. And what's the first object of the oath? The Constitution. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all foreign and domestic. And here in the state of Texas, for those of us that have taken an oath just here in Texas, it looks a little bit different. And I can tell you that whoever wrote this, their English teacher was either very proud or very upset with them. It is grammatically correct, but it is a little confusing the way they've written it if you're looking for the hierarchy within this oath. So let me break it down for a little bit. If you look at the oath here in the state of Texas, we see that first, we're saying that we're going to faithfully do our job. It's our commitment to our office. We have to understand what our job is. And as government officials, our first job is to what? Support the Constitution, and we see that in here. And so the phrasing, the words they use say to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the law of the United States and of this state. So how does that hierarchy actually look? To the constitutions first. The Constitution of the U.S., and then the Constitution of the state. And then to the laws of the U.S. and the laws of the state. Which, okay, so you see the uniform I'm wearing. My most frequent duty, my daily tasks, is the lowest priority within my oath. I don't enforce the federal law. The state constitution, the federal constitution. Most of our elected officials, most of our sworn staff, actually don't even know what the Texas Constitution says. because all we hear about is the federal Constitution, but it is a higher priority than the laws that we enforce. And I don't think we really recognize that. We're kind of unaware of that. And I'm going to skip that one real quick. So, what is the Constitution? What does it do? Okay. We have to stop and look at what the document is. If we're going to support the Constitution, we have to understand what it is and what its purpose is, what its function is. And so, what is the Constitution? Well, it's law that declares the federal government superior or supreme over the state. We've all heard Supreme 6 laws, right? Wait, does anybody disagree with me? That's not at all what the Supreme 6 law says. Let's see. I can probably recite it word for word, but let's try reading it just to make sure I don't miss anything. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made pursuant thereof, shall be the supreme law of the land. So it's not saying all federal laws are the supreme law of the land, only the ones that are made pursuant thereof. If it disagrees with the Constitution, it's not a supreme law of the land. And let's take that thought process just a little bit further. When you look at the 10th Amendment, what does it say? Those of us who love the 10th Amendment. The powers delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited to it by the states, are reserved for the states respectively or the people. What are we saying? If we didn't give them the power, it's not theirs. Woo! Okay, and now I'm not saying that every federal authority that they've taken they shouldn't have. I had a conversation a couple months ago with someone in the hallway there. We were talking about this very topic. FAA. Show me where in here we have delegated the authority to the federal government to regulate air travel. It's not there. Am I opposed to the FAA? No. But if they're going to do it, they should do it right. We should pass a constitutional amendment granting them the authority to regulate air travel, because so far we haven't done it. They have simply seized that power. Does that make sense? Just because they don't have it doesn't mean they shouldn't have it. But it means they shouldn't have it until we give it to them. Matter of fact, Thomas Jefferson said, whenever the general government, which is how he would refer to the federal government, assumes undelegated powers, its acts are unauthoritative, void, and of no force. So, according to Thomas Jefferson, the EPA has no authority to tell us anything. Where does it talk about the EPA? It doesn't. Matter of fact, here's another of those quotes that I really love, and this is James Madison in Federalist 45, where he says, the powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. Those which are remain in state governments are numerous and indefined. The former will be exercised primarily on those with external objects, war, peace, negotiation, and foreign conflict. The federal government, the whole reason they exist is to deal with foreign entities. Why do you have a president? Because if we had 50 governors trying to negotiate with France or England, it would never happen. We had to have a single point of contact for foreign entities. But over generations, we have come to expect, demand, I say, we have come to demand that the federal government fix our local problems. If we were truly following our original design, a president would not have a domestic agenda. His domestic agenda would be to protect us from foreign invaders. But we have morphed. So, how am I on time? Am I about there? I'm about there. Like I said, this is an 8-hour class. You got the first 15 minutes. I got a lot more. We'll talk more later. Y'all have a good night.
Okay, so each month, as most of you members have been here quite a long time, we pass a basket for donations. Nothing's too small that, along with your dues, this helps us provide for speakers, our essay contest, and general maintenance. While we're passing that, so you got your tickets. We have a couple of little prizes for you tonight. My first one is going to be Jaci Lopez brought a book to me tonight to donate, and it looks like a really great one. It's Children of the Collective, and it was written by Connor Boyack, which, there's the Tuttle Twins. So if you know the Tuttle Twins or whatever, this is really great. It's a book about parenting in a way, but it's also been sponsored by Glenn Beck. So if you watch Glenn Beck or know anything about him, this is really good information. So I love this book. I read a little bit of it before I brought it up here, and it's quite interesting. So the number is 724. All right, Mary. The next one, I'm going to let Jeannie take the mic because she and Kim put this together for us.
In this next prize, we have 2 T-shirts, one of our Here's Johnny shirts, and the other one is a Granbury T-shirt. And maybe one other little thing in there that we're not going to disclose. Surprise. $754.
Thank you, Jean. Okay. All right. The next thing we're doing is we're going to introduce our essay contest winners. This is the Ringpo Senior High School Essay Contest. And due to the guidelines that we use, we're kind of strict on it. But let me tell you the process first so you realize. Our process is that we send out for applications, the children send an application in, and then they send their essay in. Once we see that essay, it's sent to a person that's running the essay contest. That person then assigns that essay a number. No one ever sees the name of the student that wrote the essay. Then the judges that do the judging are also given a number. So we already know who the judges are. So when we get it back, this is really very secretive. I never know anything until I get the winners to me. So we love that process. But we do have pretty stringent guidelines. We like to see everybody write a good essay, have good references, and look as though they knew what they're talking about. So anyway, due to that, we only had 2 winners this year, unfortunately. So I'm proud to announce that our second place winner was Austin McDermott for the $500. They were both very good, and they were very close in marks on each other.
My essay was The Electoral College, Roadblock to Democracy, or Stronghold of Republicanism. When considering presidential elections, what is often thought of and discussed is how many votes candidates are or will be receiving. While this is important, the real decision maker behind America's presidential elections is often forgotten and attacked. As will be discussed here, it must be remembered what the Electoral College is, why it was created, and why it is still important in our changing world today. Electing a president. Before examining the issue of the Electoral College, it must be made clear what it actually is. According to the Constitution, the Electoral College is a group of people chosen by each state in proportion to each state's number of congressional seats with the purpose of electing a president. Electors are chosen according to the methods determined by each state's legislature. Their only federal qualification is that they cannot be a, quote, senator or representative or person holding an office of trust, or profit over the United States. The creation of the Electoral College, however, starts at the state party level, where potential electors are usually selected by their parties. In the general election, it is the state's electors for whom the election is held. Aside from the system of proportional distribution used in Nebraska and Maine, the potential electors of the winning presidential candidate in a state become that state's official electors. These chosen electors then vote for the president and vice president of their choice in accordance with the 12th Amendment, which made the ballot for president and vice president a separate vote. Sometimes electors are bound by party pledges and or state laws, such as in Texas, where they are bound to choose the candidate of the party that nominated them. The founders' fears. The purpose of the Electoral College can be shown in the ideas of America's founding fathers. It must be stated that the founders believed in a republican form of government. James Madison said, we quote, may define a republic to be a government which derives all its powers directly or indirectly from the body. Indirectly from the body of the people. The word indirectly hints at the fact that the founders feared popular democracy, or rule of the majority, and tried to limit its influence in government. Evidence of this can be found in the bicameral legislatures they formed. In the bicameral legislatures they formed as a check against democratically charged agenda and means to represent both the will of the people and their representative regions. In the same fashion, the Electoral College was another element of protection against popular democracy and delegated power to the states. Because a small set of representatives from each state are allowed to vote, the will of larger populated states or areas cannot overshadow the interests of smaller states or regions, as could happen with a purely popular vote. A government stronghold. Today, the Electoral College may appear to some as pointless, unfair, or perhaps outdated. These views may stem from the truth that our government has become much more centralized and intermingled, and today's world is far more connected than it was in the 18th century. However, that does not mean that regional differences and interests no longer exist, or that they need no protection. The founders recognized that there is a danger in societal turmoil, which directly democratic processes can enable and spread. The Constitution was structured to keep ill-intentioned people from damaging American society. The Electoral College is one major element of that, and it keeps America's highest office serving all the country, not just the side with the most voices. While the Electoral College may no longer be broadly familiar to American society, it is nonetheless still an important bulwark the founding fathers placed in American government. For some, it will remain to be seen as a hindrance to democracy, but it serves as a reminder that our government is a republic designed to protect the interests of all who compose it.
The club chose this topic because we think our youth aren't knowing what the Electoral College is about. And that's something that I'm afraid we're going to lose if we don't start instructing our children more on the Electoral College and let them know the importance of it. So our first place winner is Victoria Brown. And unfortunately, Victoria is not feeling well tonight and wasn't able to come. So Joshua, Monica's going to come and read her essay to us. She gave it it's dangerous. Okay. Victoria is very ill today. She would love to read this to you. We just came in from Austin. We'll have to talk about that. We'll talk about that. Okay. The Electoral College, a brilliant product of inspired minds or an outdated system. The Electoral College has been a cornerstone of American presidential elections since our nation's founding. It is a unique system established by the founding fathers to elect the president and vice president of the United States. The Electoral College comprises electors from each state, and the number of electors each state has is equal to the number of representatives and senators that state has in Congress. As with just about anything, though, the validity and necessity of the Electoral College has been questioned. The Electoral College process can be broken down into several steps.
First, each state is assigned a certain number of electoral votes based on its population and representation in Congress. On election day, voters in each state cast their ballots for the presidential candidate of their choice. The candidate who receives the majority of the popular vote in the state wins all that state's electoral votes. This winner takes all system is used in all but two states, Maine and Nebraska, which allocate their electoral votes based on the popular vote percentage each candidate receives. After all the states have completed their elections, the electors meet in their respective state capitals in December to cast their votes. These votes are then sent to Congress, where they are officially counted in January. The Founding Fathers created the Electoral College for the following reasons. Number one, to prevent the election of a demagogue or someone unfit for office. A demagogue is a political leader who seeks the support by appealing to the desires and prejudice of the people, rather than by using rational argument. The Electoral College was designed to safeguard against a candidate who was not qualified to be president when receiving office. Number two, to prevent foreign interference in the election process. By having electors chosen by the states rather than a direct popular vote, Founding Fathers sought to make it more difficult for foreign powers to manipulate the election process or outcome. Number three, to ensure that smaller states had an equal voice in the election process. The Founding Fathers recognized that more populous states would be tempted to dominate the election if it were based solely on the popular vote. Number four, to compromise between those who wanted presidential elections by Congress's vote versus the popular vote. The Founding Fathers believed that the Electoral College would strike a much-needed balance. Number five, to prevent a tyranny of the majority. Our Founding Fathers were concerned that a direct popular vote could lead to the election of a candidate who only appealed to a narrow segment of the population. By having electors represent each state, the Founding Fathers sought to ensure that the president was elected by a broad cross-section of the country. James Madison argued that the Electoral College would protect against the danger of factionalism. This is when a group splits into smaller groups with different interests or opinions, and ensure that the president was a unifying figure for the nation. Additionally, in Federalist Paper No. 68, Alexander Hamilton contended that the Electoral College would be a shield against tumult and disorder that could result from a direct popular vote for the president. While some critics argue that the Electoral College is outdated and undemocratic, there are compelling reasons to support its continued existence. The system is critical in maintaining the balance of power between small and large states and prevents populous states from dominating the election process. Every vote counts is not merely a slogan, it is a call to action and is rooted in the outstanding principles of our republic. When citizens cast their ballots on election day, they participate in a unique system designed by those who prayerfully and carefully considered what it takes to establish a fair and just government. Early leaders of our great nation fought for freedom. They sought to protect future generations from the ever-present forces of tyranny and division. Each voice matters and should be heard. In closing, patriots who believed in this famous quote from the Declaration of Independence deserve our gratitude. And here's the quote. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Electoral College is clearly a brilliant concept that has been effective for almost 250 years and will continue to stand the test of time.
So Victoria is our first place winner of $1,000. Okay, so your next speaker is going to be me. I'm going to talk about the Muslims overtaking or coming into Texas more and more all the time. At the start of the 20th century, 1 in 4 inhabitants in the Middle East were Christian. Only 11 million Christians remain among the 320 million Muslims. Today, the situation is drastically different. Christianity has been reduced to a mere fraction of the population. Now, just 1 in 30 are Christians. Keep that in mind as we go forward in the speech. For the 2025 school year, there are 34 Islamic private schools in Texas. 2 Muslim lawmakers, Pakistani-born Salman Lalani and Salman Bohani, are spearheading a calculated campaign to Islamize Texas through legislature, culture resolutions, and foreign allegiances. They are trying to embed the ideological blueprint of Pakistan into American law. The Lone Star State, once a symbol of rugged independence and liberty, is now being used as a testing ground for Sharia governance. Could we be surrendering our sovereignty to the very ideology, thank you, I'll get it up with it, that crushed the religious freedom in Pakistan? There's a dangerous Islamization underway in Texas, and it's not hypothetical. It's here, unfolding in real time. The rise of Dr. Soleimani and Salman Bahani, both Democrats, was made possible by the surge of Islamic voting blocs and the apathy of conservative Texans who failed to recognize the threat staring them in the face. I know that I didn't realize this either until recently. I think we focus quite a bit on China and forget the Muslims that are moving into our state and how they're taking over. Mulani and Bahani are not mere politicians. They are ideological actors with a clear agenda to transform Texas from the bastion of liberty and American pride into bureaucratically compliant outpost for Islamic culture dominance. Both men sworn into office not on the Bible, not even on the Constitution, but on the Quran, a gesture that tells you everything you need to know about where their loyalties lie. They privilege Islamic observances over Christian and American civic traditions and advance long-term goal of embedding Sharia-aligned norms into American law. Mulani and Bahani have sponsored a growing list of bills and resolutions, symbolic measures that taken together amount to slow, strategic replacement of Texas values with the ideological blueprint of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Here's just a small portion of the bills and resolutions they filed. If you want to know more, go to the RAIR website, to see the rest of this. It's quite alarming. I don't have time for just a few of these. So the first one is H.R. 34, recognizing the holy month of Ramadan. This resolution officially recognizes the Islamic holy month of Ramadan in the Texas House. While cloaked in language of respect and understanding, it functions as state-sanctioned promotion of Islamic religious observances. The next one is H.R. 37, commending the Engage of Texas Emerging Leaders program. This resolution should set off alarms. Engage is a radical political lobbying group that is linked to the Muslim Brotherhood and explicitly dedicated to electing Muslims to public office and reshaping American policy through Islamic identity politics. It partners with Hamas Hate Care, pushes Islamophobia narratives, and works to normalize Islamic grievances as civil rights issues. By commanding this youth indoctrination arm, Mulani is signaling his alliance with a national Islamic political machine. Let's get some of my stuff. The next one is HCR 85. This was called the Weaponized Day to Combat Islamophobia. Perhaps the most alarming piece of legislation introduced by Texas Representative Bahani is House Concurrent Resolution 85, which proposes designating March 15th as the day to combat Islamophobia in Texas for 10 years, and that's through 2035. But this isn't a symbolic gesture, it's an ideological weapon. HB 625 and HB 667, mandating halal food in Texas schools. Both bills push to insert halal food, which is a Sharia-compliant religious slaughter, into Texas school cafeterias. These bills do not require clear labeling or separate handling, meaning Christian, Jewish, Hindu, and secular children could be forced unknowingly to consume meat sacrificed to Allah. This goes totally against our Bible. Halal isn't just a personal choice, it's a cultural imposition. In the context of food, halal is not just a benign preference like vegetarian or gluten-free. It is an explicitly religious practice, involving the slaughter of animals while facing Mecca, a required Islamic prayer in the name of Allah, a method of cutting this rope with by the esophagus, and they will not stun the animal, so the animal suffers through it. Perhaps the most critical issue with halal is this: it doesn't stay as lame. Unlike kosher, which is observed voluntarily by religious Jews for their own consumption without impacting others, halal demands cultural and institutional conformity. Talk about that. So I think they're also looking at putting this in prisons and even military settings. So not just our schools, but to expand it further. Halal often becomes the default option because it satisfies Islamic law and is good enough for everyone else, regardless of cost of belief. This is not accommodation. This is not accommodation. It's submission, a quiet, bureaucratic surrender of food policy, cultural norms, and public space to Islamic standards. Another bill presented by them is HB 1044. State-sanctioned Sharia marriage comes to Texas. Mohani amends Section 2.202 of the Texas Family Code to explicitly authorize Muslim imams to conduct marriage ceremonies alongside Christian pastors, Jewish rabbis, Buddhist monks, and Hindu pundits. At first glance, this might seem like a benign gesture toward religious inclusion, but don't be fooled. It's a legal gateway. For the first time, Texas law now officially names Muslim imams as state-recognized marriage officials, granting them the same legal standing as ministers or clergy of any other religion. This is more than recognition. It is a state validation. While HB 1044 does not explicitly codify Sharia marriage norms into Texas civil law, it opens the door for their quiet enforcement under the guise of religious legitimacy. And in the hands of radical Islamic actors, that validation is a weapon. The bill is so alarming, you need to go to the website and read the entire description. You will see how horrific it is toward women and young girls once they allow Sharia marriages and that to be offered here in Texas. There's several others, but I'm not going to go into those. I want to go to together, Suleimani, Milani, and Salman Bahani have laid out a calculated strategic blueprint for the Pakistanification of Texas. They are not assimilating into American values. They are working to replace them, backed by Islamic voter blocs and cloaked in the language of diversity and inclusion. They are surgically inserting the same ideological systems that turned Pakistan into a global symbol of religious persecution and totalitarian rule. This is not public service, it's ideological conquest, and it follows the doctrine, Hijra, the Islamic command to migrate not for refuge, but for expansion. What we are witnessing in the Texas legislation is not random. It is part of the centuries-old playbook for soft conquest through politics, policy, and cultural subversion. This is not alarmism. This is real, and this is now. If Texans don't rise up, if we don't run for office, challenge school boards, confront our representatives, and expose this agenda at every level, the Texas of tomorrow will be unrecognizable. So I put on a slide here that shows two places that I wanted to highlight. And the first one is, that's in Sugar Land, Texas, where they're calling action to the square in Sugar Land, Texas. They're calling them to prayer. I didn't ever see this in Texas, but that's one of the things. The next one, there's a couple of things going on in Plano. This is the one that our governor and our attorney general has their attention on, and this is called the Epic City, and it's right out in the middle of Plano, off of 75, up that way. What they're proposing, I think they have 402 acres of land, and they're proposing to make this an inclusion, not an exclusion. So in other words, it looks like they want to make it a go-no-go zone. So they're looking into it in the permits and different things they've done to see exactly what's happening here. You know, if they But when I found out we had these two representatives in the House trying to move us closer to Sharia values, then I thought I needed to come tonight and talk to you. You guys have raised this to the forefront, so y'all can do some of your own research, okay? And let's talk to our representatives down there. I talked to Mike Alcott, and he was going to be looking into some of this for me. So, man, guys, I just wanted to make you aware that Texas is being overcome by Muslims. That's going to be a program tonight. Wes is going to sing us out.
Well, I'll join you, please. Sing God Bless America. God bless America, the land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Yes, everything that